Hello, ladies. How are you doing? Today is Monday, and I'm so excited to be here with you once again. Well, you know what you are. You know what I'm about to tell you what you are. You are absolutely fantastically beautiful. That's right. You are beautiful from the inside out. And if no one has told you this today, let me be the first, because let me tell you something. I find all women to be beautiful. I don't care what size you are. I don't care what color you are. I think women are just beautiful because we are so unique. We have so much to offer. So that's why I call women beautiful whenever I see them. And because I'm talking to you and you're listening to me, you're beautiful, amazingly beautiful. So keep that in mind and always remember that. I see you as that no matter what it is. Okay? And you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power. And I am your host, functional nutritionist Gail Thorpe, at your service. And I need for you to grab your pen and your paper and your coffee, your tea, and water if you like, so that we can get into it. So today we're talking about a topic that's a little embarrassing for some people to talk about, even to their healthcare provider sometimes, because of a lot of the implications with it. Some of the symptoms to it can be a little embarrassing, but you know what? Here at the Estrogen Chronicles, we specialize in women's health, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. And we're going to talk about how we can help ourselves with this condition. So that being said, I am going to talk about today bacterial vaginosis, which is BV. Now, that is actually one of those sneaky, frustrating conditions that many women experience. But like I said, few want to talk about openly. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and do no shame zone and get right into it. So what is bacterial vaginosis, which is, like I mentioned, BV. So BV is a vaginal infection that's caused by an imbalance in the natural bacteria of the vagina. Normally, the vagina has more good bacteria, which is the lactobacillus, than harmful ones. When that balance shifts and the bad bacteria overgrows, this is when BV develops. Okay? Now, the exact cause of BV isn't very clear, but we do know about several triggers that can tip the balance. One of the triggers can be unprotected intimacies. Okay, so whether you have a new or multiple partners, this can disrupt your vaginal pH. Douching, we don't really recommend that so much now. At one time, it was very popular to do that years ago, but this actually clears out good bacteria, so it's not really recommended. And then hormonal shifts, like around periods or menopause, overwashing, or using fragrant products like wipes, soaps, or sprays. Now, and by no means am I saying that you are not to wash or anything of that nature, but sometimes when we use products that are very highly perfumed, it can cause disruption. Antibiotics, the antibiotic use, that actually can wipe out good flora too, as well. And IUDs in some women can actually be a risk factor. Okay? So keep that in mind. And you don't really have to be sexually active to get BV. It's more of a pH and a flora disruption, just to keep that in mind. Okay? All right. So some of the symptoms, ladies, of BV. First of all, some women may not even notice any symptoms, But sometimes we do have those symptoms. So let me talk a little bit about it. So if you have a thin grayish white vaginal discharge, a fishy odor, especially after intimacies, itching or irritation, burning with urination. Now, keep in mind that BV is not an STD, but it can raise your risk for STDs. So like pelvic inflammatory disease or complications in pregnancy. Okay? All right. So, as you know, I always like to inform you, when is it time to see the doctor? And I do that because I want my ladies who are listening to always be informed so there are no surprises. So if your symptoms are persistent and reoccurrent symptoms, and like I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, but BV is something that can be pretty recurrent. Okay. And it can be very frustrating because, you have to end up seeing your gynecologist quite often because you keep getting it and getting it and getting it. And like I said, it's something that, based upon some of the symptoms I just mentioned, it's a little embarrassing. You don't want to have to keep dealing with it so much. So it can be recurrent. So if that's the case, then we definitely need to make sure and see our healthcare provider because it's just not going away. And let's say that if you never had BV and aren't sure what's going on. So basically, if you're having these symptoms and you never had BV before, you're not sure, okay, do I have it? Do I not have it? Then we need to see our healthcare provider. If you're pregnant and experiencing symptoms, you definitely have to go because this can be very important for your baby's safety. And you've tried to self-treat yourself, but the symptoms continuously keep coming back. That's when we definitely need to see our doctor. Now, when we see the doctor will do a pelvic exam to check for discharge. They will take a vaginal swab to look under the microscope. And what they'll do also is a pH test. So for BV, is usually causes around when it's higher than 4.5. So when it's higher than that, that's usually an indicator that you have an overgrowth. Okay. And then there's something that's called a whiff test. Now, using potassium hydroxide, this will detect the classic fishy smell. I know it kind of sounds strange, but it's quick and it's a great way for the healthcare provider to find out if that's what you are experiencing. Because as you know, as I mentioned a lot of times, is that symptoms that we may have can also mean other symptoms, other conditions. So we have to make sure to check to make sure exactly what's going on. Now, the treatment that the doctor may give you can be either an oral or a gel. Now, Flagyl is something that they often recommend for patients, okay? Now, if you're taking that, you want to make sure that you're not going to drink any alcohol. You have to avoid it because it can really make you sick, the two together. And then they will give you other type of creams or pills, okay? So it just all depends. It could be a gel, it could be a cream. It can be pills or pills, it just depends on what type of medication that they're going to give you. But it will be something, either topical or something that you're going to take in a pill form. Okay. Now, what can we do when we have BV naturally, as far as taking some key ingredients or nutrients rather, that's needed? So, my previous episode, I talked a lot about nutritional deficiencies in women. And I talked about the different symptoms that you may have if you are deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. That was the last episode. It was a very important episode. A lot of people enjoyed it because they actually was recognizing some of the symptoms, and it was basically a correlation to what they're deficient in. But you also want to make sure that you're checked for deficiencies, because you're not going to know for sure if you're deficient until you actually check, right? But in any case, let's talk about BV and some of the nutrients that's needed to help prevent it. So vitamin D, now this helps to support immune health. It has been linked to reduce BV risk. We talked a lot about vitamin D because that's a very important vitamin that we all should have. So it's linked to many things in the body to help for it to function at optimum. Okay? So we need to definitely take a look at that one. Folate B9. If you're low in folate, this will increase your BV risk. Again, if you're low in this, it can actually increase your risk. Vitamin A, which helps to support mucosal health and immunity. And vitamins and zinc, for that helps with immune defense and tissue healing. Okay? And probiotics, especially lactobacillus strains. That is crucial, ladies. Crucial, that we are taking a probiotic. Now, did you know that there are probiotics for your V-spot, and then there's also the probiotic for your gut? Now, you can actually take both, because the bacteria strains that's for your V-spot is not the same strains that's needed for your gut. Some people have had that question. Can I take? Yes, you can. You can take, because there are different type of bacteria that's needed for your gut and what's needed for your V-spot. Okay? So it's extremely important that you take it, because if your gut is off, okay, if there's an overgrowth there, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be an overgrowth in your vaginal area as well. I'm telling you, the correlation of your stomach is like, we call it the second brain. So when the stomach is not functioning correctly, it throws off everything in your body, including your V-spot, believe it or not. So if we make sure we take our probiotics for both, then we are a step ahead of the game. And this is absolutely crucial. Okay? Absolutely crucial. So make sure that you remember that always. Now, the reason why we have to treat BV, because it can actually lead to other conditions, right? Who would have thought? But it actually can. So if you're not treating it properly, it can lead to pelvic inflammatory disease. Okay? Bacterial vaginosis can let actual harmful bacteria climb up into your uterus and your fallopian tubes and your ovaries. And this can actually lead to pelvic inflammatory disease. Now, that's a very painful condition that may cause infertility. It can cause chronic pelvic pain and ectopic pregnancy. Okay? Also, if you're not treating your bacterial vaginosis, you have a higher risk of sexually transmitted infections. BV actually helps to weaken the natural defense system of the vagina. So women with untreated bacterial vaginosis are more susceptible to infections like chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, and HIV. Did you know that? That's important, ladies. You cannot let this BV go and not be recognized and treated, because you're leaving yourself wide open for more serious conditions. Also, talking about HIV, if you do not treat it, you increase your risk of HIV and transmission. So if you have BV and you are exposed to HIV, your chances of contracting it are higher. Okay? And if you already have HIV positive, BV may increase the chance of transmitting it to others. This is how important it is. Okay? The other thing is pregnancy complications. So if you have BV, is present during pregnancy, it may cause preterm labor, premature rupture of your membranes. It can cause low birth weight and postpartum uterine infections. So that's why it's so important to treat BV promptly so that you don't have any problems conceiving or any other of the problems that I mentioned. Okay. Now, if you have recurrent BV, if that's untreated, the BV often becomes chronic and keeps coming back. And that can mean ongoing discomfort. It means ongoing odor, irritation, and a frustrating cycle of treatments. Okay? We don't want that. So we need to make sure we get a handle of this. And we can actually get inflammation of the cervix if we don't take care of the BV. Now, which this can actually cause spotting. It can cause discharge. It can cause pain during intimacies. Okay? And if it goes unnoticed, it can start affecting fertility and causing persistent symptoms. So we don't want the inflammation of the cervix to happen, right? Cervicitis. We don't want that. So the thing is that, remember I said that sometimes BV, some women may not experience any symptoms, which basically means asymptomatic. But you still have to treat it. Okay? You still have to make sure that you're getting your annuals, so the doctors your gynecologist can make sure that there's nothing going on in your V-spot. Because just because it's silent, it doesn't mean it is harmless. Like, you will get maybe some hint of something's going on. You may not have all the symptoms that I mentioned, but as you may know yourself in your V-spot area, you know something's going on, you just don't know what it is. So you figure, okay, you go to the doctor and the doctor says you have this. But then you're saying, okay, I'm not having the odor, I'm not having any of that problem, I'm okay. Again, just because it's silent doesn't mean it's harmless. It can still change your pH, it can weaken your immunity, and increase your infection risks behind the scenes. So, asymptomatic or not, you want to get this taken care of. You want to get this taken care of. Okay? Alrighty. See, that's good information, right? You didn't know that this could happen. You didn't know it could be so thorough and this happening to you. Okay. So let's talk about taking back our plate. That's our thing here that we do. And what does that mean? That means that wherever we're talking about, there's always a nutritional component that can help us to feel better, possibly even eradicate the symptoms that we're dealing with. Okay? Or help us to heal within. So, what can we do to support a healthy vaginal microbiome? So, plain yogurt which actually has live cultures is one. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir. And then our leafy greens, which is rich in the folate and the vitamin A that we talked about. So we want to do berries and citrus fruits, which has the antioxidants and the vitamin C that we need. And garlic, which is a natural antimicrobial. So with the garlic, I love garlic, by the way. If you like garlic, you want to definitely cook with as much garlic in your food as possible. Now, there are some people that's actually brave enough to take a little bit of a clove and eat it raw. But keep in mind, you can also use it in a supplement form. Okay? But we want to be able to take that. Pumpkin seeds and oysters, which are both zinc rich. And then, of course, our fatty fish for vitamin D and omega-3s. Okay, I talk a lot about omega-3s because when we're talking about any kind of inflammatory process in our body, the omega-3s helps with that. Okay, all right. Now those are the foods that we need to incorporate on our plate as we take it back. But here are the foods that we need to limit or completely avoid. Number one, you've heard me talk about this all the time. Refined sugars. Why is that so important in the case of having BV? Is because sugars helps to feed bad bacteria. And remember that BV is the overgrowth of bad bacteria and it helps to feed it. So we don't want that. White flour and processed carbs. Okay? Alcohol, which helps to disrupt the gut flora. And remember I said that if your gut is not right, because we can have an overgrowth of bad bacteria in our gut, especially if we're not taking our probiotic, now we know that can also affect our V-spot. Okay? So we have to be careful with alcohol. Fried or greasy foods. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying that you can never have a piece of chicken. I know we all love our piece of fried chicken sometimes, right? I'm not saying that you can't have that. Okay, you can limit it or avoid it if you're brave enough to do so. But here's the thing. If you are one of those patients that experiences BV often, and it's just keep being reoccurrent like we just mentioned, you want to cut that back for a while. Okay? Anything that's fried or greasy to help to what we call reset your body. Dairy with added sugar, like sweetened yogurts. Okay? And excessive caffeine. Now this can actually dehydrate and affect your pH. And I bet you didn't know that. Now here you are, drinking your coffee, especially if it's this caffeine coffee, because you can have decaffeinated, and you're drinking your coffee every single day, like a lot of us do, but you keep getting this BV all the time. And you're like, why? Why am I getting this? Why? Well, it could be coming from your coffee that you're having every day, because it can dehydrate and affect your pH. You see, I always want to keep you informed by the things you wouldn't even know about. So what are some of the helpful supplements to take daily? Well, one is probiotics, like I mentioned, and definitely a probiotic that is vaginal focus, because it's going to have the lactobacillus strain in it, and we need that. Remember, the strain that we need for our pH in our V-spot is not the same strain that we need for our stomach. But if we wanted to take both, which we should, okay, that will help us a lot to keep that balance in that area. We want to have vitamin D3, especially if you're low in it and you don't get enough sun. So if you're not out in the sun, because that's the best way to get your D, you want to definitely check to see also if you are low in vitamin D, because maybe you're not, okay? But if you are, you want to make sure to have that supplemented, or definitely spend more time in the sun. And then we want to do zinc. So anywhere between 10 to 30 milligrams a day will help to boost our immunity. Okay, and then folic acid, so around 400 to 800 mcgs. That is really good for cell health and mucous membrane support. And like I mentioned, garlic extract is excellent for antimicrobial support. And our omega-3s, which, like I also mentioned, helps to reduce inflammation. Okay? Now, I always mention this to you. If you're taking medication, guys, you want to make sure that the medicine will not be affected by any of the supplements that I just mentioned. Perfect example. There are some high blood pressure pills that people may take where you cannot have grapefruit. So whether it be grapefruit juice, eating it raw, or taking it in a supplement form, you cannot have it because it interferes with that particular blood pressure pill. So that's why I'm always telling you to make sure and check with your healthcare provider to make sure that you can take it. Now, if you can, and it's not going, if that particular pill that you're taking will not affect you anyway, if you take any of these supplements that I just mentioned, then I'm saying go for it. Go for it. Okay? That's important, that we want to always check that out. We always want to be responsible with our health. So guys, we have come, or ladies, we have come to that moment of getting a special gift, which is either a juice, a smoothie, or maybe even a recipe. So today what I have for you is a juice. It's going to be our vaginal vitality juice, and it's going to help with having bacterial vaginosis. Okay? Now, this is a refreshing, alkalizing, and is loaded with nutrients to support a healthy vaginal flora. So I always like to provide, whether it be a smoothie or a juice or even possibly a recipe. And I provide that no matter what I'm talking about. Why? So that you can immediately start to feel better. So if I'm speaking to you ladies today and there's someone who's dealing with this recurrent BV, she can go out today and get the ingredients and start the healing process and start to feel better. So that's why I do it. So you don't have to wait. I care about you and I want you to start immediately. So with that being said, we're going to get 1 cucumber, which is hydrating and anti-inflammatory. We're going to get 1 green apple, which actually helps to give us a mild sweetness plus of the fiber. And then 1 handful of spinach, which provides folate and iron. We're going to do a half lemon, which is alkalizing, plus it has the vitamin C that we need for immune support. Okay. We're going to do 1-inch piece of a fresh ginger. Remember, that's antimicrobial. Plus, it provides help you to soothe the gut. Oh, I love ginger. Just drinking it, you can actually get a root of the ginger root, peel it, and pour hot water over it. And it definitely helps to soothe the gut. It smells amazing, and it just does so much good stuff for you. Okay. And a half cup of unsweetened cranberry juice. Now, this is optional, of course, but this helps to prevent UTIs, because what happens now is when you have reoccurrent bacterial vaginosis, a lot of times you tend to also have a lot of UTIs because it's all around the same area, right? So too much overgrowth of bad bacteria creeps into the bladder, and now it causes a UTI. Okay? So this is optional. If you don't experience the UTI part, then you don't have to necessarily include this. But if you do, you want to definitely include it, or you want to include it just for preventionary measures. And then 1 cup of coconut water, which provides hydration and the electrolytes that's needed. And this is also optional. You can do 1 teaspoon of flaxseed oil or chia seeds, which helps to provide the omega-3s. Okay? So what you want to do is go ahead and juice all the ingredients, except, of course, for the cranberry and the coconut water. And then you want to stir in the cranberry juice and the coconut water, and you want to serve this chilled. To be honest, whether you experience UTIs or not, I would definitely include the cranberry juice, okay? Because that can prevent. Because at some point, you're going to start to experience that UTI problem. So go ahead and include that, okay? And like you know, that I always say to make sure and drink right away because it helps with the absorption, especially if it's on an empty stomach. Now, if you do experience pretty much recurrent BVs, you want to do this at least 3 times a week. If you don't experience it as often, if you want to prevent from this happening, but you do experience it from time to time, then 1 time a week. Okay? All right, ladies. I think we covered a lot today about BVs. What is it? What do we know about it? What are some of the triggers? What are the symptoms? When is it time to go to the doctor? What does the doctor do? Okay, and what are some of the options that he will give you when you go to see him or her? And we talked about a great smoothie. We talked about supplements that we need to take to prevent BVs from happening. And most importantly, we talked about how important probiotics are to prevent BVs from happening. Okay? All right, ladies, this has been great. I have enjoyed talking to you as always. And if you need further assistance when you are having or experiencing bacterial vaginosis, like I said, it's a condition that we don't like to talk about too much because some of the symptoms is a little embarrassing for some. It's time to get it together. So definitely you want to give me a call or book an appointment with me. You go to www.nutritionudesign.com and you can book a 30-minute session with me. It's actually free. And then we can take it from there, the next steps. But what I can do for you is provide you a great meal plan. I can do testings for genetics, for micronutrient, for hormones, all kind of things, because I'm what they call a health detective, right? So I'm going to get to the bottom line of what's going on, even if it means it's genetics, so that we can really get you to where you need to be. That's why I'm a functional nutritionist, because that's what we do. We get to the bottom line of what's happening in your body so that we can get you well, get you healing, okay? So don't forget, www.nutritionudesign.com. Book that session with me. It's only 30 minutes and it is absolutely free. The other thing is you want to make sure that if you feel that I'm providing great information, and hopefully you do, you want to share this with other ladies of your family and your friends. So you want to make sure that you like this podcast. And most importantly, you want to share this podcast, ladies, because that also helps me to be able to continue to provide great information to you. So share, and make sure that you like. Okay? Create that buzz. Create that buzz. Okay? And you know, I always end my session with wellness is not just a focus, but it is a lifestyle, because it is, ladies. Changing the way we eat for our health, right? I'm not talking about a diet. I am talking about a lifestyle change of eating great foods, not depriving yourself of things, but enjoying good foods that's going to help you in your health, to help to either eradicate things or definitely help you to heal within. That's what I'm about. Okay? All right, ladies. So I hope that you enjoyed this session. I hope that if you are experiencing BV often, that you will go ahead and do the things that I mentioned today. Okay? Don't be afraid, even though it's not the most, we don't want to talk about some of it, but we have to, so that we can get our bodies well. And I'm here for you. Remember, I'm a woman. I'm here for you, and I totally understand what you're going through. So definitely you want to reach out to me as well. And with that being said, ladies, I hope that you enjoyed the rest of your week. I hope that it's a blessed week full of great things happening to you. Until we meet again, enjoy.